So I'll call the March 17th Fire District Board meeting to order. Happy St. Patrick's Day. I'm glad you waited till after the meeting. And would you join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Can I have a roll call?
Beckman?
Here.
Fox?
Here.
Verplank?
Here.
Holland?
Here.
North?
Here. And Stacy and Scott are excused. Okay, would you please turn off your cell phones? Please don't text during the meeting. Could we have an approval of the agenda, please?
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda of March 17th.
Second.
Oh.
Sorry.
Okay, a motion by Full and a second by Fox to approve the agenda. Is there any discussion? All those in favor, please say yes.
Yes.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. We have a special guest today. Dan.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for inviting me to your meeting like you do every year. You all look familiar to me, but my name is Dan Veldhuizen, CPA with Siegfried Crandall. Been working with the fire department for many years now. So, much nicer day to drive here than it was 4 weeks ago. That was quite a blizzard. It feels like every time when I come to your meeting, there's a good chance that I'm going to be driving home in the snow. So this is a nice night. But we truly enjoy working with the fire department. You have very professional people here. Chris, for example, is always very responsive when I ask him questions about the meeting. He sets those things up with me. But we really enjoy working with Peter. You all know his capabilities, and we love working with accountants that do work as well as he does. So that makes our job easier. I just have a few brief comments to make. I'd like to talk about the auditor communications that we issue. There's a couple of those this year, and then make a few comments about your financial condition. Chris, if you don't mind going down to the auditor's report. I know I asked you to put the, oh, I'm sorry.
She's on page 7 over first. So, 9 maybe. It should be right there. This is the letter, I believe.
That's the separate
Yeah.
letter, but if we go down
Oh,
one more.
one more. Got it.
Yeah.
Page 8.
Perfect. That's our auditor's report. That's what you hired us to do, to give an opinion on the fairness of the financial statements. Just like to point out a couple of concepts there. We start out immediately with the opinion now, where we say that financial statements are presented fairly in all material respects. That's known as an unmodified or clean opinion. Far too often in the media I see that the auditor issued a clean report, so everything must be fine. But that's not always necessarily the case. We might have to make a couple dozen journal entries in order to allow us to give that opinion. So what you really need to know is that second report. Now, Wendy, if you don't mind going back to that first letter that we looked at. Probably about the third page. Yeah, this letter goes through about 6 or 8 different required written communications. I like to focus on the top of the next page.
I'm sorry.
Oh, one page down. Over there. Just
Page
a little
3?
further.
Okay, page 3.
And then one more.
Page 4.
Perfect, right there. So, like I said, this letter is now required to be put in writing. Talk about a variety of things. What usually generates the most interest is any kind of material audit adjustments. And we have relatively few here. You can see that we have just 3 items there in bullet points. Sometimes with the governments I work with, we make quite a number of adjustments. Here we actually, I think Peter tried to test us this year, and we had to actually record an additional payable. I asked the guys that were working on the job, and I said, did you really have to record another payable? I don't think I've ever seen that with Peter. So maybe he was just trying to test us, but that's just one adjustment that we had to make, and we typically don't make those. There's another adjustment related to your net pension liability and the related deferred inflows and outflows. That's a hard one for us to do, so I don't expect Peter to do that one. So very few, if any of our clients are able to do that. So those are the two written communications that we issued. Just a couple of brief comments on the financial statements and the financial condition. This one will be on page 11 of our report. I'm not sure which one that would be for you.
18.
Perfect. So this is the balance sheet or a picture at a point in time of the fire department's financial position. People in your position often ask me, what's a good fund balance? What should it be? Is ours good? An auditor really can't tell you that. You really need to know yourself what's a good fund balance. You can see the total is $1,268,000. Most of that is unassigned. I like to compare that fund balance number to your current year's expenditures. That $1,241,000 represents 67% of your current year's expenditures. I would say you're very much like an individual. If you have 3 to 6 months worth of money set aside to cover expenses and other costs, you're in good shape. So if you have 25 to 50% fund balance, you're in very good shape. At 67%, you're over that threshold, certainly not excessive. So as long as I've been working with the fire department, you've had a healthy fund balance and you manage that very well. I'm sorry to do this to you, Wendy, but now I'd like to go back to page 6 of 7 of our report.
7?
Page 12.
What's page?
13. Page 7 in that report.
One more.
Oh, I'm sorry, you have it
Is
printed
that
out.
the right?
That's what I'm looking at, perfect. So this is part of what's called a management discussion and analysis. It's a verbal explanation of the numbers in the financial statement. Somebody like Peter or I really like to look at the numbers, but here there's a written explanation of why things changed, and it gives you a very summarized version of the income statement, if you will. It shows total revenues, less expenses, and the changes in net position. You can see the net position or equity of the fire department went up quite a bit more this year than it did last year. And the main reason was an increase in revenues. The charges for services, technically those are the special assessments, went from about $1.8 million to $2.2 million. That's because you increased your millage rate from 2.2 to 2.5 mils. Expenses went up, but not as much as revenues. So that's why net position or equity increased that much. And then one final thing that's often of interest is the pension liability here. That is on page 25 of our report. So probably another 7 pages after that on yours.
Page 33.
What page?
33.
33, 36, 25.
25 in our report. Wendy, excellent work. Thank you very much for helping me get through all those pages. So this is a page that has far too many numbers on it, but it represents 10 years of activity of your defined benefit pension plan. The column to the left is the most recent, 2024, and if you look at the fourth number from the bottom, it's the net pension liability of about $91,000. If you go to the number below that, that means it says it's 88% funded. That is probably better than almost any municipality that I work with. MERS really likes you to be at 80% before you can make any benefit changes. But 88% funding is really quite good given some of the changes that have been made with the pension plan over the last few years. So I know that's always an area of interest. If you look back over the years, you were as low as 75%, which is still a good thing, and it has consistently increased for the most part over those years. So that you're in really good position with the pension plan too. So in summary, we enjoy working with the fire department. The people responsible for your accounting transactions all do a very good job, and the financial position of the department is really quite stable and good too. That's all I have, but I'd be happy to answer any questions that you have both now and anytime. I know when it's very rare that the chief will send some information to me or ask me some questions, but he's always been very professional about that too, and we appreciate it. So if there's ever anything that we can do to help, we'd like to do that.
I have a question. Nobody else does. Dan, I'm going by the report number. Page 7.
Okay.
We had that on there.
Our page 7?
No, I don't know what it is, because I'm looking at this.
Page 13, I think, of our...
Probably be 13, I guess. Yeah, that's correct. So my question, just, I can point up here. So my curiosity would be any comment on approximately 51% of the expenses, obviously is payroll. That's always a concern of mine. I've worked with some departments that are in the 80 to 86% tile, because pretty much everything is wages. So how do you feel about that? Any comments on that?
That's actually an excellent point. That tells me that you read the MD&A, which is...
It's all right here.
I appreciate you looking at it. It's interesting that you point that out. The 51% might be a little bit light when you look at the accrual basis, because there's two bases of accounting. The fund basis, which doesn't include capital assets and other long-term activity, versus the accrual basis, which does. So there is a significant amount of depreciation expense. The next sentence says that $234,000 of that total expense is depreciation, which you don't see in your fund basis financial statements. If we took that out, you'd probably be closer to the 60–70%. So if you look at it on the fund basis, it might be higher, but when you look at it on the full accrual basis, which an accountant would say is the more appropriate thing to look at the true economic position, 50% is really quite good. I'm thinking of a lot of police departments and fire departments that I often hear 60 and 70% personnel costs. So at 51% on the accrual basis, I think you're keeping it very reasonable.
That's the difference. Okay, thank you. Thank you.
Anybody else? Any other questions? Thank you, Dan.
Well, thank you very much for your time. Have a happy St. Patrick's Day.
Thank you.
Have a nice
Thank
weekend.
you, Dan. You're the best.
I was given permission not to wear a tie next year, so I think I'm going to go with that.
You can come in your blue jeans if you want.
Take care.
Thank you.
Thank you.
If it's summer, come in shorts. Saga top.
All right, can we have approval of the minutes for the February 17th regular meeting?
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes of February 17th, regular meeting.
Second.
Is there any discussion? All those in favor, please say yes.
Yes.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Could I have approval of the minutes of the March 3rd workshop? I wasn't here, so...
Me either.
Oh, yeah. I'll make a motion to approve the minutes from the workshop of March 3rd, 2025.
I'll second it.
I have a motion by Fox and a second by Cohen. All those in favor, please say yes.
Yes.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Is there any public comment? Jerry, got anything to say, Bill?
One of these days.
Not today, huh? Okay, well, let's move on to Peter, request for payment. Could I have a motion to approve the accounts payable? Geez, Dan or Eric, you're gonna have to do this, Scott's not here.
I will make a motion to approve the expenses of $185,698.16.
Second.
I have a motion by Beckman and a second by Fox to approve the accounts payable. Is there any discussion? No discussion? We have a roll call vote, please.
Beckman?
Yes.
Cox?
Yes.
LaPointe?
Yes.
Holland?
Yes.
North?
Yes.
Motion carries unanimously. Moving on to, financial report.
Yes.
Peter?
Yes, so on page 44 or 54, you can see, let's go to the, not the second from the right column, available balance, and we'll start with the revenues. So I think I've collected everything that the two cities in the township, that they've collected from taxpayers. All those numbers, the 32,000, 65,000, 31,000, those checks will be coming in probably sometime in May or June from the county treasurer. Basically, that's the delinquent roll that people did not pay the local units that rolls to the county. And then the rest of them going farther down in the parentheses, that's excess revenues that we've collected compared to what we've budgeted here like a year ago. Overall, the expenses going farther down, anything in parentheses over the budget, I think the biggest one right now is professional services, basically is the attorney bills, and that's $1,700 over. Then technology, other than some new computers and some IT issues. I think those are the only ones that are over. Oh, and long-term capital, we have to make it adjusted there, I think it, so we'll have, and that's paying for the module for the new, truck that was been ordered here last, to put a down payment on. So, available balance, there's still $800,000 of expenses together. $821,000 that was originally budgeted in the budget. So I don't know if anybody has any questions. Probably at some time we'll have a budget adjustment once we look at the numbers here on capital, what capital outlays left and what other expenses going forward. Because we're in March, so we got about 100 days left in this fiscal year, so.
Why would we have such a large surplus in inspection and plan review fees?
I guess there was more that came in than, last year it was 38,000, so I think they have more, don't you have more people inspecting now? I mean, we're getting, I think, I don't know this, and then the cities, everybody raised the fees too, it was, what,
Well, I think number one,
125?
you end up with, I think, a combination of factors, is annual inspections in Sudbury City. I think that we are slowly adding more inspections on. I just had a meeting today with Kyle about that, because we were having trouble keeping up. So I think it probably stems too from the plan reviews are getting more challenging, because people are keyholing property that 10 years ago you wouldn't have built on. So I think the plan review is certainly something that is bringing revenue, and we are having some issues with single-family dwellings, that some of this is 3 hours because it's not being submitted the right way. We traditionally have given somebody on a single-family dwelling an hour and a half. After that, we're billing them, because most of the homes are being built by a builder that's paid to manage this. It's not like Kathy comes to me and says, hey, I want to build this house, will you help me? There's a difference there. Most of these homes are passed off on a general contractor that really aren't up, so that increases fees. But primarily the commercial is where you're getting the revenue from. That's what helps fund, like, your almost $12,000 in a hole on the technology. I've mentioned this before. That's because those funds help pay for the computer. It just doesn't show that. But you do have the revenue. Does that make sense? You do have the revenue that you're bringing in.
Yeah, I mean, it's not a bad thing, it's just
No.
an accounting thing.
It's a real good thing that
Yeah.
you know, it's just like cost recovery. Typically, correct me if I'm wrong, Peter, Peter and I usually have the budget where there's $1,000 in cost recovery. Okay? Because you never know what you're gonna collect.
Right.
I just turned over a $10,000 cost recovery to the attorney today, literally today, because they're just ignoring us. So you don't know what you're going to collect. So again, with plan review, you don't know, you might get a development that goes through 6 plan reviews, 9 plan reviews. That's all billable. So it really fluctuates.
I might be in the wrong space, Chief, but does this include the SRT inspections?
Mhm.
So, I know in Douglas, we have a long list of properties that we have recently identified as properties that haven't...
Been inspected.
Yeah. So now they're scrambling to get their, what's our status with that? From your workload and also from how it impacts our budget, because I know we have a number of them.
Very difficult. We're running into that growing pains. We want to see how, rather than react, oh my gosh, you're going to annual inspection, say, Salt Lake City, we want to see, could we maintain this? Well, what happened with our year-end call responses? Up 20%. Couple that with a surge in rental inspections, because I just sent you an email about 15 minutes ago, everything is becoming a rental. So anticipate, that's why I sat down with my staff and said, we need to do something on this. Kyle is an inspector, we need to incorporate. He's got an inspection at 4:30 today, a rental. So to answer your question, we have many more rentals now, and what really hurts is people or municipalities hold them, and then they send you 15 of them.
Well, what's our capacity is I know how much time that is put into
Right.
doing a proper inspection and then oftentimes a revisit. What's our capacity?
That's really hard to answer because of several factors. Is it an experienced firm managing the inspections? Do they know what the rules are? How many re-inspections do we have to go back? Getting a hold of them. Oh, I'm in Florida. I don't want it done until spring. You've heard me say that before. So the volume within the fire district has 1,000% increase. So what we're running into is, I was working out here one time, my office was so cold, and I heard Bernie doing nothing but making phone calls for 4 hours, scheduling that.
I know in Douglas, we've identified at least maybe 24
Yes.
new properties, and they're, according to our code enforcer, they're all pending inspection.
So I think,
And I've alerted them that, and I know from a previous short-term rent, you
Yeah.
can't just call today and have it inspected
not gonna happen,
tomorrow.
because our
It's not
first
gonna happen.
priority in this district is emergency services. So we could be, how many times were we on the highway? So all of a sudden, there's 3 or 4 hours when my whole shift is on a highway, and I have 2 people at the station, all the inspections come to a halt. And that's one of the things we get criticized for, whatever. We don't have a full-time or a part-time code enforcer. These guys are firefighters, they're EMS,
Should we?
and the type of calls. I think what we're gonna have to do is hire another person for short-term rentals.
Can we find
That's where
someone
I'm
retired?
going. I know personally from working with Chris and his staff as far as getting an inspection, it's like, sometimes difficult, and so we have a long list.
Real difficult. It is, just because there's so many, and we still
Well,
have
and
the same...
Talk's gonna be worse because they've gone to the 1 year,
Correct, correct.
option.
And
which
sometimes-
I support, by the way.
We have, since Chief Block, we wanted annual inspections on this. 3 years is too long for somebody to
But that is
take.
gonna require additional
Yeah,
staffing,
well,
I'm guessing.
So we wanted to see how it was gonna go, but there's such a craze with an emphasis on the short-term rentals in our community, because people see it as a way of making money, that they think everything has to evolve around that. Unfortunately, it doesn't. And we're the code officials. I'm actually the code official, and we're not gonna have somebody inspecting them who isn't experienced.
But
because
how's
there's
that
a big
gonna
difference.
impact our budget?
Pardon me?
How's that gonna impact our budget in terms of staffing? 'Cause
So you're probably talking...
I think we're gonna have to add another,
Yes, and we've been talking about that. We wanted to see, Kyle would have an impact, but remember, Kyle's 10 days a month, there's only so many hours in a day they can inspect. And then if they have the call, then we have that void. I remember I did my days, it was just one other person. I did 600 inspections a year and ran every call. But I didn't have 900 or 1,000 short-term rentals.
That doesn't even count like re-inspections, correct? I mean.
And, you know, they just.
What is the percentage of re-inspections? I'm gonna guess it's 25% at least.
Pretty
or
close to
better.
that, yeah. And there was one even that we did 4 re-inspections for. I mean, they pay every time, but it's just the time.
But it's not necessarily the money.
But I could do-
It's the hours of service.
It depends on, also it depends on, it's very hard to say, you figure an hour. I could do a house, did them for 11 years, in 15 minutes, or it could be an hour and a half, because they're not set up. It was easier for me to say, come on, I'll help you get the grill off the deck. I'll help you move this, than it was to go back and do it, because I was one person. So Chris Bernhardy is on the street doing the short-term rentals, scheduling, doing it. Chris is primarily on the plan review, and then fire alarms, suppressions, along with Chris Bernhardy.
Do we offer these people a checklist of requirements?
We have for.
Absolutely.
And my point about
Correct.
that is, here's what we expect.
Right.
We'll come once,
Right,
and then
for the fee, and then we come back for $125.
I gotta go back for 500.
Correct.
I'm talking, it's gotta hurt.
Escalate, yes.
Because they don't give a damn the first time, because they know you're gonna say, that's gotta move, without them even
There is a
trying.
checklist, and we.
You could be like me, and I did give a damn, but I was like, dumb. So.
But if you had a checklist,
No, I believe in that. I believe in that.
We have one.
I think-
We've had it.
And I think you should be charged heavily after
Yeah, I do
the
too.
second time. I agree with that.
I mean, that's how we feel about plan reviews. Builders, architects, everything, submit things to you, and then, hey, I've been waiting 3 weeks for this. It doesn't comply with the adopted fire code.
I don't know how it is in Saugatuck, but I know that we have, because our code enforcer is out finding like, a long list of
Infractions.
infractions. And these people are not happy that they're having to schedule a fire inspection, and they're on the wait list. And so now they're really unhappy.
Are they getting a checklist?
I'm sure they are. Yeah, I'm sure they
That's
are.
not up to
It's
us.
not-
That's on our website, it's on
not.
the cities. Yeah.
It's not,
Yeah.
we're doing the right thing. I think we're doing the right thing. I think.
I think
they're
if you
just-
added 4 inspectors on, you're gonna still get people that submit an application that this is the
But
world we live in.
we're this close to opening the season, and people are gonna be,
Oh, yeah.
But isn't the point of this discussion that we need another, inspector? I think
it's obvious we're there.
I think we have.
I think-
but
I think
they
we
should
have-
pay for it.
Yeah,
They
we
should
have
pay
them.
for it. We shouldn't pay for it.
You're right, you're right.
We have
The
them.
Well, the revenue from the inspection fee should.
should pay for it.
Right. And
Not my tax dollars should go to rentals that are
But I think
making
we
money.
do have the money to pay for it. The fees are coming in, we do have the money, and if more fees come in, we'll have more money. So I think the question, to beg the question, is we need to hire somebody right now.
I would add to that, Eric's point, if we can legally do it. Re-inspections come at 500, 750, 1,000, 1,250, 1,500. You want to play this game? It's gonna really cost you money.
Well, what does an
And I don't know
inspection cost?
if we can legally do that.
I think an initial inspection is pretty
What is it?
moderate.
We
like-
get 175 for the
Yeah.
first,
Yeah.
and we get 125 for the second. And we just redid them and started the new fee structure last July, I think, which is probably why you see a little bit more revenue coming in. But that includes our time, the computers, the software, the truck, everything.
The
that we built-
training.
The training, that we built out
Right.
exactly what our costs were, and then I think it ended up being about $5 more than our expenses. And from what our understanding was, we can't charge more than what our actual.
That's what we've been advised legally, that's why we don't understand how some municipalities and even somebody around here is charging more than we are.
Right.
Well, that's my question too, so
Yeah.
when you do a reinspection, the city shouldn't necessarily get more money, it should be going toward, the cost of the fire district's efforts to.
We bill
remediate it.
$125, what the city do, we don't
But
know.
what Chris is saying is 125 is probably at or close
I
to the
don't
legal
think
limit.
the city
Yeah.
should make more money on that.
Well, I
It's the
agree with
effort of
Kathy, though. The
it's
second
effort
one.
of
The second one.
the fire board, in our inspectors that are having to go back out and make the same.
But I don't agree with the fact that the first one's 175. I think it's fair that the second one is 125 because you're dumb. Now, after the second one, you're not dumb anymore. You know what you're supposed to do. The third one should be expensive.
Super
not-
dumb.
Yeah.
So you're saying the second one should be lower
Yes,
than
D
the first
category.
one?
Yeah, because you're just going back to look at the things that weren't there.
But the cost of his time didn't change.
Yeah.
He's still going back,
Well, that's
even
true,
with the
but-
first time.
But I think you have to give people a break that.
Well, I agree.
You
Well,
you
the
never
first time
know.
you could be naive, but you have to pay for it.
Right. So
Right.
$125 is a
Can't
lot
fix
to pay for
stupid.
your naivety, I think.
But
But then after that,
now
now
Saugatuck,
you're not naive.
every year, they have to be inspected, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
So how many short-term rentals are on the docket for this year for Saugatuck?
Just under 200.
Yeah, I would say it'd be right around
And
200.
they, currently though, they're
Yes.
allowing the
And
ones that
Douglas
were
is still
on.
on a 3-year,
And Saugatuck is too. If there was many of them that renewed right before the ordinance changed, so they're allowed to basically run out their 3 years and then they'll rotate to annually. So I think right now we've only probably got 60 or so of those are annuals, and then as they rotate out through the year, then they all become annuals.
but what's the capacity of our staff?
What, that's the point.
That's
We
the
need to
point we're
hire
talking about,
somebody.
yeah.
Is
I
it-
mean,
do we have-
essentially, we're keeping up
I
on-
can't answer that.
Essentially, we keep up on rentals, and then the commercial stuff fails, is what happens. That we don't keep up on the commercial stuff because we're
Right.
spending too much time on
But
rentals.
that additional revenue should be coming back to the fire district
Mhm.
and not to the municipalities.
I don't know what the municipalities do, Peter, when you bill for $125, our bill is $125 to
In the
municipality.
township, I believe that's, we don't have too many re-inspects I've seen lately from the township, I'm trying to remember from the city. I think
Yes,
the second
regular
one, it was
people.
just a wash, but that, they came down there, paid us, when it was still, what, $60? And we just basically, was money in, money out.
I believe they, from what I've seen, I think they each charge $50 more than we do for the reinspection. So
Okay.
they charge $175, but they're processing paperwork as the zoning administrator, and then their billing person has to generate a new invoice and send it to the people. So I think that's why they tacked a little
Yeah.
bit onto it for their
Yeah.
time.
So, capacity, I can tell you right now, the primary inspector, because Kyle is just getting in this, we had to wait to get the computer. You have to have a computer to do this out in the field, so then it's all emailed. I think that was put in service 2 weeks ago. And I know that's why Kyle isn't at this meeting, because he's doing a 4:30 re-inspect. That will help. And then even we could probably capture some rentals on a Saturday. Chris Bernardi is 410s, Tuesday through Friday, so is Chris Manos. But Chris Manos is not the primary short-term rental. But once we passed the threshold of annuals with the city, it became obvious more and more houses are turning into rentals. The one I sent you today is right on South Maple, 567 square foot, 1 bedroom, $375,000, $621 a square foot. It's already got an offer pending. That's the one that Phil shared with me. And it says, oh, this is already approved for rental as a cottage. That's what that house is.
I got a question.
Yeah.
If we have people working 410s, what are their hours?
6 to 4.
6 AM.
Yeah, and they,
So nothing gets done
not
on an inspection from
Correct.
6 to 8 at least.
Correct. That's where they do
Paperwork.
emails and scheduling stuff. For example, when I was on the street, I was 8 to 4:30, and Chief got in around 9:20, 9:30. I did all my reports in the morning, and then I came back to the office about 4:15 and I left.
I just want to understand the timing there.
Right, you can't, that's why I say, you can't do rentals, you know, at 7 or 8 o'clock at night. You've got a window. Well, where's our call volume during
In that
the day?
window.
So you see the combination of challenges, but I think what the board, rightfully so, has concluded, like we've been thinking about for months, we need another person to do the short-term rentals.
Well, I guess my point is, on behalf of Douglas, is that Saugatuck is doing yearly rentals. I think their fee should be different than Douglas until, and if we change it. I don't know if we should pay the same, fee, I'm just throwing it out there, I'm just thinking off of the top of my head, that, Saugatuck is paying for yearly inspections. Do you know what I'm saying? They're gonna
Yeah.
have a larger call volume than we are, and we'll probably change it in
Well, how
Yes.
long are your inspections? 3?
3.
Oh.
Do you know what I'm
But
saying?
it's the same
Yeah.
amount of work per inspection.
I honestly feel.
Right, but
Right.
they're not working they get 2 years off in Douglas.
Yeah,
They're not
you're
going
right.
back every year, so they're
You're
going
right.
once per year.
Here's my experience with inspection, 11 years of inspection, was if I kept up on it annually, and we had years where, under Chief Black, where we had other priorities, other projects. If I kept up on those, it was a walkthrough on the second one. I was gone for 2 or 3 years, if I missed it for some reason, extinguishers aren't done, fire alarms don't work, weren't inspected, it's 3 times long.
Don't get me wrong, I believe in
Yeah,
yearly
yeah.
inspections.
Yeah,
What
And I
about
think
every
we
2
should
years?
move to that. I do, I think
Reduce
that's the right thing to do.
Reduce the volume every 2 years. It's still almost getting,
Well, they should be the same.
that's what I mean.
Change
Have
the
theirs
limit.
2 and Saugatuck 2.
and that was the thing that we kind of really stressed on, because it started with Saugatuck City, then Douglas jumped on board, and then Township. And all of a sudden, we had different ordinances and different rules, and we can't do this. We had different fees. And that is where the administration nightmare is going to enter. Because we're trying to have all the same forms, even their applications don't mirror one another. And we gave them all the same information. Here's the checklist. We're the ones who crafted this based on low impact. This is what we're gonna check. They all know, just to reiterate. And I wish we could do something better, but it's on the city's website, on the fire department's website, and you can have that checklist, just like a tent checklist. They check it off, and you go there, there's no exit lights, there's no extinguishers. So it's a constant educational, informational thing, and like you say, until you hurt their wallet, you don't get their attention.
Well, and short-term rentals really need to be inspected more than bed and breakfast, because there's nobody supervising what's going on in a short-term rental. The fire
Right.
extinguishers could have disappeared 3 years ago, and nobody
Well,
knew,
that's
nobody cared,
That's
nobody.
not necessarily true, but it could.
But that could happen, because a lot of short-term rentals are supervised by big organizations, and they're keeping track of a lot of short-term
They're
rentals.
separate from the individual owners, but I agree with you.
The difference,
I agree with you, Jim.
B and Bs were placed in a category, a business category that required annual inspections because there wasn't an owner on premise. We even met with most of the agencies that were regulating them and say, here's a checklist. Can you have your cleaning contractor use the broom handle and check the smoke detectors? And, if they're not there, report it, because the owners are not even here. They're in Indiana or Illinois or somewhere.
Well, not all of them, but
But-
you're right.
But we were just looking at that going, we would go into these things and, hey, there's no smoke detectors here. The people took them down. they're gone. So that's why Chief Block and I always favored annual inspections, so it can only go on so far.
Well, and I think an owner supervised short-term rental is the exception, not the rule.
Right, I would agree.
Yeah,
The bottom-
there's a big
The bottom
difference.
line is,
Yeah.
though, we are encumbering a bunch of, additional expenses that need to be supplemented by the,
Right.
The
Yeah,
people
oh,
making
absolutely.
profit.
yeah.
We are a nonprofit organization. They are
It's
for-profit.
gonna be an expense to us to hire an additional inspector to
But the theory
facilitate
is,
all these.
the theory is it's a neutral. It's
should
Yeah.
wash.
financially
It should
wash.
Yeah.
I mean,
Should.
it'll be hard to actually lay that out, but in general, you know if you've got it covered or whatever. But, I mean, if we were a for-profit, we could raise the rates just on our own,
But
but
the
we're
law
not.
is, it's a
We also
wash.
can't, the fire district can't mandate the annual
absorb
versus
them
every
either.
other year versus
Yeah.
every 3. That's the cities, and
Yeah.
that they gotta do that. So you can use the bully pulpit to try and get it to happen, but
But, you know,
not
when you
our
discover all these delinquent ones, we had a number of them in township, because that's where a lot of the growth was. And we would notify the township and say, hey, this has been advertised for, it says here for 14 months, we don't have it registered, a number of them on the lake shore. And you wish it would be punitive. Oh, don't forget to register it. These people are making $5,000 to $7,000 a week. And really, that's a crime. So you're always going back on this, and then the minute you say, then the local real estate agents come after you, go, oh my God, you're making us do fire extinguishers every year. Well, that's the law. I mean, I got beat up on that for 10 years. That's just the law. But it's
You gotta
because-
pay to play, it's plain and simple. And all these houses, that, most of them are owned by one person that has 5 of them. You don't have like you had one, I think.
I did.
That's going away.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That type of thing's
That's the
going
exception.
away.
Yeah.
I bought that in 1950 and I wanna rent it out. Now it's multiples.
What we could do is, when we bring the fee schedule to you, is look at that second or third fee and see what it is. We're gonna evaluate the $175, reevaluate and see, because everything costs more now. What does it cost for us to go to school? Chris and I just spent 4 days in school each. You didn't have to pay for mine, it was paid
I think
for.
we should propose higher cost per inspection.
I'm sorry?
There has to be a law.
It should reflect our actual fees.
well, as of about a year ago, it did, or pretty
Right.
damn
Yeah,
close.
but it's probably changed.
Well,
Yeah.
again, that's
Right.
a different matter, but it isn't gonna go from, whatever it isn't gonna go from 125 to 300.
No, we usually do a cost of living from 3 to 7%. We up it.
Everything has gone up. It seems like we should be.
Okay.
It's a good
That
dialogue.
wasn't
But
done
those
and
costs should be
everything.
passed on to the
The user.
short-term
The
rental
users,
user.
yep. Yep, I agree.
All right, so
And I
how,
would have said that if I still owned it, just so you know.
No, it's
I
great,
would've.
great dialogue. True, did you have a question for
so,
me?
yeah, this person you wanna hire, is this gonna be part-time, full-time?
Trip a person?
I would say that'd be full-time,
Oh, absolutely.
yeah.
So you're thinking that these inspections are gonna take full-time, 40 hours a week?
Well, that would be just part of their responsibility, but they would be number one, a firefighter EMS first,
Oh.
and then their third, like Chris is a firefighter EMS and plans examiner. He is not anything else other than that. I'm the chief, I have to do this, this, and this.
Right.
Bernhardy is a firefighter EMS inspector.
Is there such thing as just an inspector?
That's what
You
I'm
could
The
getting to.
inspectors
yeah.
have to be qualified and trained.
Exactly, but what I'm
We have to
saying
pay for
is,
that, right?
do they have to be a EMT and a firefighter?
No, for example,
Right,
there,
that's what
there's a couple inspectors that got hurt. I could think of one in North Shores in Plainfield, he got hurt years ago moving hose, and he, to keep him employed, moved to the inspection department, is there, I just saw him all last week, he's there to this day. I think the problem you're gonna run into is, I don't know if we're gonna get anybody that, I just don't know. We could advertise it as just an inspector. I don't know if you're gonna get anything in that $43,000 to $44,000 range.
But then, that doesn't alleviate what we do as far as firefighting and EMT, because we still don't have enough people to quite cover vacations and all that.
Well, like, for
sick
example,
time
tonight,
and-
I've got two people, one's a professor, he's working, the other one was flown out, one girl's sick, I had two people tonight. Two
We still
people.
don't have enough
My minimum
staff.
staffing was four. So I brought in one of my full-time people, said, Kyle, he said, you will work tonight.
So we still don't have enough firefighters.
That, it happens, you know, with all the sickness going around, but there is enough work for two people. What, we all have roles, you know, I'm firefighter EMS first. The role of this person, this new hiree, would be predominantly, would be short-term rental.
Inspector.
Correct, and that's what we're grooming Kyle on. But still, Kyle's, look at the opportunities at 10 days a month. This person would be 5 days a week. And he would be Monday through Friday, so we can capture that where people are generally here. Oh, you know, we want to do inspection on a weekend. That would be where Kyle could kick in, if he's on duty.
That's double
Or we
time.
could go 5 days a week, Tuesday through Saturday.
Or maybe
Double time.
this should be a second shift.
You could.
Maybe it should
You
be
could.
a
It
second
wouldn't-
shift kind of
yeah.
person.
Well, the problem is a second shift is they're not gonna really be able to capture much from 4:30 till 10 at night.
I would think you would catch more after 4:30 because people aren't working, and they'd have
Mhm.
time to do an inspection. So I think we need to look at that and see.
We could, I know-
See what the hours need to be for this person. Maybe it's a 10 to.
I know with the Kyle, it was, we had that fluid movement of, oh, we could get one on the weekend, like tent inspections and things.
Right.
Where these guys, he's on duty, so there's no overtime.
Or maybe it's a Tuesday through Saturday person.
Correct. So you got, so you got some flexibility there, you know? But I do know that most of the rentals are handled by an agency. And the agencies aren't doing inspections on weekends, they're cleaning.
Well, somebody's there though.
Well,
Maybe not.
agencies have
No,
their,
it's usually a phone thing, like, you know, they're not,
people who run rentals have their issues too, and their employment issues. I mean, this isn't easy for anybody. So, anyway, I think
Okay.
we should move on. We've beaten that horse
Could I
too
ask
much.
one question about the, off of the spreadsheet here,
sure, for me or Peter.
well, what I'd like to, I'm just gonna ask if it makes sense to have a chart, a graph, like one of Eric's graphs, that shows annually the number of cost recovery incidents, the amount billed, and the amount collected. Total, I mean, those three pieces of information for each year. Because my sense is, looking at $20,000 here, that the performance on cost recovery has gotten better and better and better. And that piece of information comes time for going to the public on needs for revenue or whatever, is a useful thing to let them know the fire district shakes every tree. We take every dollar we can reasonably take, and so that the needs we're expressing are real needs. They're not sandbagged or whatever. And we're doing a hell of a job on this, hell of a job on that, blah, 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 blah. But I mean, the data's available, it's just a question whether
So
I
the-
thought we saw something like that at
We
one time.
had, remember, we had a
Yeah,
vary from 40 to 60% success rate and
Yeah.
stuff, it varies.
but
So-
we didn't have dollar numbers, well, I think we did, but,
Sure, that would be
What's
easy, because it's already
the-
exported, it's
Yeah.
just present, so you would like that for a couple of years, say?
I'm just saying over the number of years, as an annual kind of piece of data, because I don't think looking at it monthly is purposeful,
Well-
it'll go up and down.
it shows what kind of improvement we're making,
Yeah.
is what you're asking
And,
for.
and,
That-
yeah,
that-
and the
What our
quantity.
costs are.
well,
True.
I got it, I
If
got
it's,
it.
if it's a hassle.
I will work on it. No, we did that like 2 months ago. Boy, we got a rash of them. Right now, we got a lot of commercial ones outstanding that are just snubbing us.
I know you must have like 20 of them in Douglas. I see
We
the
just
report-
collected one,
I see the report he's, but, I mean, we've uncovered, through our code enforcer, we've uncovered a large number of unregistered,
Rentals?
STRs that are now awaiting inspection.
But this is different than that. What I'm asking for is different from that. I'm not, this,
these are
I'm
like.
just saying they're gonna add to the workload.
Gotcha,
yeah.
gotcha.
Okay, moving
Which
on.
one of the cities have an inspector, like, did your plan commission have an inspector? Who inspects, other than for fire, who inspects, or do you inspect?
We now have a part-time code enforcer.
Right, yeah, I know about him, yeah.
Uh-huh.
He's got a vehicle, right?
Why couldn't we?
He doesn't inspect,
He doesn't, what does he do?
he's discovering, properties that were not registered.
Oh, so you don't have to go in the house and look
No.
at anything, okay, all right, thank you.
All right, moving on, we have fire chief's comment.
Okay, incident report. So as far as the incidents go, what's notable for our fire board would be 68 calls for February, which is typical. We are up about 12% this year. We always take 11.5, we round it up. Response times increase primarily due to weather. In the first couple weeks in February, we had a lot of icy roads, so the time response increased. We were slower. Overlapping calls is up about 31% for February, notable. Here's one that really would be interested in. Thanks, Peter, see ya.
I figure,
Motor vehicle incidents, that's on your dashboard. Motor vehicle incidents has an increase of 91% because the beginning of February was brutal.
yeah,
So you can see quite an increase. The average, all-time average of our whole history in January is 8, you know, and in February, it's
68.
let me get to the right page. How many?
Looks like 68.
is it the incidents report?
No, that's all the calls. I'm looking for
Yeah, he's just looking
these are
for the-
back to back and it's harder for me. Oh, here we go. Okay. Got it, finally. January averages 8 calls, February is 7. 7 is the average. So in February, you had 21 calls.
Wow. On overlapping,
So
wow.
that's what you had. As far as total incidents go, you had 21 incidents, and you normally average 7. That was the point I was trying to make. Life EMS, you'll notice on your page 7 on this, in your data, you'll see the response times where they average in the right-hand column. You see an average of 6.43 to Douglas, you know, that's an average.
Greg, I got a question.
Yeah.
You were just talking about motor vehicle incidents,
Correct.
and you said there was 11 in February?
No, I'm sorry, there were 21, there should be 21.
Okay, 21, January and February. 'Cause on this report on page 23, way in the back here, it says there are 6 incidents.
Oh, I see, yep, he's taking both of them.
Yeah,
So,
both of
right,
them.
so that's 15 and the 6 is the 21.
Yeah.
You're right, you're right.
A little confused, sorry.
Yep, nope, it's confusing. Anyway, on page 7, you'll see Life EMS responses right here in the column. Some of them went up, some of them went down. I mean, Saugatuck North went from 13 minutes to 10 minutes. Likewise, Township North went from 9 minutes to 14 minutes.
Chief, is the differentiation between Saugatuck North and South the separation of basically Ferry Street?
Yeah, the peninsula, right. Saugatuck South, Township South.
So it wasn't, going to Saugatuck South, it was okay. It was about the same in February
Right.
for both portions of Saugatuck.
Like you look at Township South, I mean, this radically dropped.
Was that fewer calls, or is that just,
No, it's just, there might have been somebody working down there where the calls we did have was just rapid response.
Or could it come out of Fenville, is that possible? The truck?
I would think that was because they were positioned here. Whereas in January, they weren't positioned here until I think mid-January. I think it's because they were here, because we had a number of calls where they were right behind us. That concludes my incident reporting. Next on the list, I have some happy news cost recovery updates. Collected $753 from one cost recovery, and then it was another one at $1,383.
And those two were which events?
Remember?
It's no big deal.
That I'd have to look up, Dan,
Okay.
because this is going back to
Oh, yeah.
December, 2024, going this 4/2/2. When do you remember this one at all?
It was a gas leak,
That was a gas leak?
Yeah, it was a gas leak.
And 1382, I think, was an intoxicated driver.
I want to say it was on 126 and
Correct.
66.
Right. And then the one we got over the weekend for $670 was a gas line rupture, again, somebody digging and not calling this dig, so we billed for that.
Okay, all set? Unfinished business funding approval request.
Page 46 of your packet, we talked about this briefly at the work group meeting. So request for funding to replace the door locks that have become electronic code entry door locks that have become obsolete.
Okay, we've discussed this several times, so I'll take a motion.
I'll make a motion to authorize fire district staff to purchase a replacement Unify card access system with a not to exceed amount of $17,500.
Second? Is that
We have a motion by Fox and a second by Pullen. Any discussion? Any more discussion? Can we have a roll call vote, please?
Fox,
Yes.
Cullen,
Yes.
Beckman,
Yes.
Dufresne,
Yes.
North.
yes.
Okay.
Great, thank you.
Moving on.
This will have to get up on the screen.
New business, we have a water and sewer estimate and drawings. For the fire station, we talked about this in the workshop, and we talked about it several other times.
So this was, to bring the water in, this is option number 1. Okay, option number 1, let's just go, wait, hold on,
Yep, sorry.
so you're at $303,000, so option 1 brings the water main back from Maple Street, okay? We have a 20-foot easement, you have to run an 8-inch water line, a 6-inch sanitary sewer, about 270 feet to come up in that easement. So that's essentially what your costs are.
For the
Next,
two.
please.
For both water and sewer, or
Correct.
just sewer?
Correct.
For the two, okay.
Police did a great job on this. This is option 2. I suggested, why don't we consider coming off of Blue Star? Which means you have to bore underneath the highway. Boring is 3 times as much. However, the distance is shorter. So John Moxie, your engineer, our engineer, agreed, why don't we look at this? So we had talked about that, and bringing it in, he was originally gonna bring it in right south of the fire departments. Well, what if you wanna expand the station? You can't build over the water main. I said, John, that's not gonna work. We have an easement down by DPW, but then you gotta go back up. So why don't you just tap off the water main across from Blue Star, run it right through the parking lot. Parking lot doesn't owe you anything, it's coming apart. So this estimate reflects bringing the sewer and the water main off of Blue Star. You would drill and core underneath there. Now, the sewer isn't over here. However, talking to Daniel today, John said, reach out, John Moxie, said, reach out to Daniel, because they have a project that is going to go in at Old Allegan and Blue Star. And that is gonna they're gonna put a lift station in there. They would have the ability, they want sewer here, because they wanna develop it. There are some businesses here that don't even have a septic. So they want to bring the sewer here, and Daniel said, we'll work with you. Daniel even offered to put in the water main for us, but that's a 2-inch water line.
Oh, no.
So that's not gonna work. I said, how about an 8-inch water line? He didn't seem real agreeable. So those are your first 2 options. There's only, $8,000 difference between
Not much, so.
bringing it in here.
Better to have it closer, right?
It would be. The advantage of bringing it in from Maple would be conceivably if Safe Harbor, which is now owned by somebody else, builds buildings, they could dig that up and put another hydrant there. Because I only have 2 hydrants in this. Because I only need a hydrant every 400 feet, they might put in another hydrant, or it would be suppressed. So you've got pretty comparable whether you come off of Blue Star. I would rather have it off of Blue Star, because that's township.
So this second map is incorrect, at least in not showing it coming off of Blue Star for the sewer line,
Can
correct?
you pull those maps up? Let's take a look, Dan. Hold on, okay, all right, let me see where we're at. So here's the existing 2-inch service. Okay? And the proposed line, so here's the 8-inch water line coming off of Maple. It's gonna come in here, go here, a hydrant in front of the back barn, and then another hydrant. I actually had it over here, but it doesn't matter, there's 2 hydrants here. So this first one comes off of Maple Street. So let's go to the second one.
The sewer one is the orange line, correct?
Correct. So let's look at the second one and see. So this one has a sewer off of here, off of Maple, but the water line is off of here. Now what they're talking about is, they believe they're gonna run this sanitary sewer up to our station.
Did he have a time estimate for that? I mean, when they're gonna do it?
No, he did not. I do know that the developer that Daniel referred to has been very responsible and reputable, and he's progressing, so I think that lift station's gonna go in. And Daniel has actually submitted a grant to extend this, because he wants to develop this for housing. He doesn't want storage buildings here. So, that's why you see this back here, Dan, which is a good catch. But since they drew this, they're proposing to bring the sewer up to our station. And then the next one, we might as well go right to the map. This shows a loop. So it shows it coming in from Maple, coming in, feeding the station, the back building, and then going over there, which is always great for water quality, but you're only talking, I think, about 400 feet here. I don't think we could be made to loop that. 'Cause you're talking, I think if you scroll back, over $400,000 to loop the water main,
So we don't have any,
431.
we don't have any idea what it would cost. Can you go up again, Wendy?
To which one?
For, the last, I'm sure, the last map.
Map,
We don't have any idea what a cost would be without running the sewer line from Maple and going into the new sewer line on Blue Star.
I could have a
We're premature there.
Yeah, I could have them re-quote this to indicate, okay, what if we come off of Blue Star, what's the sanitary, and what's the sewer coming off,
Probably a little
sanitary and what the water main is.
But isn't there a time factor
Of
as
course, they
well?
gotta go under the road.
I mean, when is, right now, there is no sewer, when is there gonna be a sewer?
That's what I asked, yeah.
Right. I'll try to get a better answer from Daniel. When I talked to him this afternoon, he said, when the lift station goes in, that's when they want to extend it. However, that's subject to grant funding.
Is that a federal?
Right. No, I
Could
don't
we
know.
put the water in like this?
Yep.
And avoid the sewer?
Leave the septic.
Leave the septic
Right.
until we're...
Right.
And then if it doesn't happen, we can always do that.
Go back.
Yeah.
Right.
That's what I would do.
Yeah, that sounds.
Is it possible when they bore under the highway to bring the bore?
Oh, can you put an as-built
So
in?
what I think I would do is
Put a
see what it would
sleeve in.
take to put a sleeve in for the sewer and a sleeve for the water.
Yeah, and then you have
It's
it.
gonna cost a little more, but in the end, it's gonna be a
It's an
big
investment.
savings, yeah.
Then you're not tearing up the parking
Second
lot.
time,
Yeah.
and you're not
shutting
going
down-
under the road a second
Yeah.
time.
Well, and they're gonna want sewer on this side of the street anyway, so.
Well, we're just trying, what does it cost?
Yeah.
He's just trying to figure out, at least you have an idea. $300,000 to $400,000 is what it's gonna cost to bring sewer and water in here. And I think that as shocking as that is, nothing surprises me these days.
Well, and it's not gonna get any cheaper, so
No.
maybe that's
No.
a project for.
But the
Roseanne.
400,000 is
With
with
that
the
one.
thing going back.
From
From
Star?
From
Maple.
Maple, the sewer line.
No.
Yes, it is.
So the water
Roof
line,
is the expensive.
the water line, I gotta go up, one more.
What I'm saying is, if we don't do the sewer
Nope,
line
nope.
right now,
How far do you?
and we still do the water, we're
On the
gonna
last
save
one.
money. You know what I mean? You could
That
take
one.
that out of the cost. Because we're talking about putting a
That's it, Wendy.
proposed 6-inch sewer line to Maple.
8-inch.
No,
Eight
say,
inch, six.
the sewer is 6-inch,
Oh, I'm sorry.
the water line's 8-inch.
Okay.
It's a lot of dimension. So
Well,
if
yeah,
you're talking about areas,
I guess if you're gonna tear up all that, you wanna run them both at the same time.
That's another.
But what I'm saying is, if we don't loop it, if we're not running back to Maple, I think that might be better that we stay with the township. And use our sewer here until we can tap into theirs.
that's what Daniel thought.
And put a dummy or
He
whatever
said your
sleeve
township
in.
pieces, I think it should be off a township.
Do we really feel that we need to loop it to Maple, the water?
No,
No.
that's where.
Honestly, and I'm a
that's where the
loop
cost
guy.
is.
That's where the big cost.
I'm a loop guy, this doesn't warrant it. This isn't a dead end, 1,000-foot dead end.
Well, can't we put in for now, put it in under the highway, we can loop it later if that comes up that we need to do that?
Yeah, say these guys, the Safe Harbor was gonna tear this down and build one big building which had to be suppressed. He says, hey, maybe I can help you with this water main. Well, they sold out to,
Right, but that could be done later if that all happens.
yeah,
we can join
there would
in.
just be a T here,
Right,
so they could hook onto it, and they could run it here.
right.
So we don't really have a price for the second option minus the sewer line,
With
Go
the
up,
extra
Wendy.
sleeve.
with the extra
Yeah.
sleeve.
we put an asphalt under the road.
This one, if we don't have a quote for this one without the sewer.
But I could easily figure that out, because he's got it priced out there,
Okay.
and I could send you guys an email. I could just delete.
I wasn't at the last workshop meeting. Are we
Yep.
committed to staying here?
Didn't we decide that
I wasn't
it's
here.
best to put in water and sewer even for the sale of the places we sell it? It's better to have
Good
water
point.
here?
I would think so. I mean,
I thought
what,
we decided.
there was talk about they might make us replace this 2-inch water main, because they think it's so old, but I don't think it's galvanized, and they can't make us, I think it's plastic. No one has been able to give me an answer on that yet. But getting to Kathy's point, you weren't here, I think, for one of the meetings. We had no idea that somebody had drawn an addition onto your new building that would incorporate the fire department. So, you know, leave this as it is, and then that would be a southern station. 'Cause I saw a great floor plan,
So that floor plan, would it be bigger than this place? It'd be an addition to this place.
Would be an addition.
'Cause it wouldn't be big enough.
Yeah, I think there were 4 truck bays, as I remember.
Okay, that's all I need to know, okay.
So, right.
But like you said, even if, God forbid, we sold this place, you'd want water here.
Well, if that
It'd
isn't
make
big
it
enough,
more,
we aren't gonna
Saleable.
Resale.
if that isn't big enough over there, we're gonna be selling this.
Correct. Correct. I wouldn't think it'd be able to operate with, you know, people, what's gonna happen in 20 years, nobody's got a crystal ball. All I can tell you is what's the trends since 2004 to 2024, you've had 20 years of data, and it's very evident what's happened. Who knows what's gonna happen in 20 years?
Yeah.
Kathy, the sense of, my recollection, the sense of that workshop as to location was concentrate on this
Yeah.
location, expanding this location. I mean, personally, this is how, the way I've known it, but the response times don't really justify a second station. I mean, if anything,
they might when we get more of a.
When there's more construction down in township?
We're gonna have a lot more construction.
Yeah.
You know, Douglas has got a lot of.
It might take a little bit.
It's interesting what Daniel ran into today, because his desire to expand and get, like, say, apartment buildings or something here for us normal folk to live in. He said, here's his problem, sewer capacity.
Well, water
He
capacity
can't get-
too.
Well, we're already working with that with the township.
And he's trying to, he had mentioned that. And, he had mentioned how that was going good, it wasn't going good with the other guy. So, he said, you know, they want to do it so they can move the storage buildings in areas where you don't need infrastructure and get the housing here for the workforce, instead of the people that are here and live in
Yeah.
Seattle or wherever. That was Daniel and the township's strategy. So the growth you have is, and apparently they have enough sewer capacity for 600 more homes in the city.
But they don't have the water.
In the town.
Well,
No,
where
no,
are
they
they-
have the water, they don't have the sewer.
I don't think
Am I
they
right?
have
They don't have
water.
No.
They don't have the property. Where are you gonna put 600 homes in Saginaw City?
Not city, yeah.
No, not.
You know what I mean?
Not the city, but
They don't have the, they don't,
I think
in
we're-
Douglas,
you have more.
in
than
township,
in
oh yeah.
township.
Township probably triple that. Remember, out by Ravines, what engineers and zoning told us, that Lene was the lead on this. So in Ravines, you know, there's a water main going out to Ravines, right? You remember that from back in the day. A long water main that's a dead end, as illegal as can be. Well, at 150 homes, they were supposed to put up a water tower. Redwater wants to add 30 more homes out there, because they own that. We said, well, you don't have enough water supply. Where's the water tower? big kind of an oops. So where I'm going is, when Redwater said, why should we pay for it? And, well, you're developing this. And Lene brought up that all that agricultural land, zoned agricultural in that area, cornfields and all that, is just a quick
Yeah.
draft to R1, rental, residential. So that is probably going to happen, because you can make a whole lot more money selling your property to a developer to put in 40 homes. So the problem is, what you're gonna have to do, a community sewage system. But apparently Cal Lake isn't, and I don't wanna get off topic, but apparently Cal Lake, there just isn't that, the expansion wasn't, part of strategic planning. That's where they're running into water issues. What happened with the 220 apartments that was supposed to go in
Another story.
at exit 41, right? Larry Seibesbaum. After 3 plan reviews and $60,000, he was told there's no sewer capacity. After 3 reviews.
So, have you talked to the township about the wooded area next to us? Can we cut those trees down or not? Have you talked to Daniel about that?
Who
Where?
owns that property? Is that
Here?
Right here. No, here, over here.
On Blue Star.
Our
On
easement,
Blue
sir.
Star. Our easement,
There.
in between here and DPW.
We could cut them down if we're gonna build what they think. We would do a pre-plan, tree plan. See, there are just setbacks here, remember? We
Yeah.
kind of talk, there's a 40-foot setback, which puts you here.
Right.
You can't touch any of that. We can appeal it.
Okay.
They feel they will favor the fire department.
Okay,
But there's setbacks on all the property lines.
right.
We have to, same with this. There's setbacks. We have to appeal all that so we can still build out lot to lot line.
Right. Okay,
Does that answer your question?
all right, yeah,
The sentiment was, yeah.
all right. Moving on, thanks, Greg.
Will
Yes,
we
I'm-
have a timeline in going forward
Yeah.
to fund this?
I haven't come up with anything. I just want the board to digest.
I mean, Eric, right, I think you said it, the prices are only gonna go up.
Yeah, absolutely,
So if we're gonna do it, we need to think about
yeah,
approving it and doing it,
right.
or doing what we can.
I think we could probably
I
do
think
it.
we could probably talk very quickly about the water, putting the water line in.
Okay, so, moving on,
Maybe we need to raise the millage again.
This whole thing, right,
Oh, I'm sorry, well, everyone's
Right,
growing.
Right.
yeah,
We gotta pay to play. Plain and simple.
On one level, I mean, I hate to see the millage go up in dribs and drabs if we're gonna ask for a significant increase when the bill comes.
We have room to do that, right?
Oh, yeah, plenty of room, gobs of room, but
we're at 2.5.
you still
we can go to
piss people
10.
off
I get
when
it,
you're...
I get it.
Well, you know, have we seen an impact from all these rentals being purchased, being non-homesteaded?
That doesn't have anything to do with us,
I thought we got part of that.
you know.
Well, I certainly think that the municipalities, that's a great find, because they're losing revenue. That's why
Yeah,
it's
oh, yeah,
criminal.
yeah.
They're losing revenue. And every once in a while, you have a clerk or somebody go online and finds all these rentals, then you pick up that revenue, and no longer homesteading.
Right.
But the school picks up the revenue.
Yeah.
So,
You had to bring that up.
that wonderful, glorious, huge school that we have, that, we can live without. Anyway,
For the Fenville
moving
kids.
on.
The Fenville and Hamilton kids.
Yeah, well, we won't
And
talk
Holland.
about that. We have a thank you from,
Yeah, Saginaw Drug Store, we had a fire there, it happened to be on a Saturday, great turnout, people were available, and there were 3 people at the station, the 4th person ran home, check on his wife and his baby, and it was a ceiling fixture, surface mount ceiling fixture, not recessed like this, that started on fire. The fear of downtown Sawyerville is very real, in that you're worried about extension, and you're worried about a two-story. Well, this was a one-story attached to a two-story, right next to Phil's, and you're worried about it getting in the ceiling and then creeping up into the apartments. It was a great, what can I say, it was a great stop.
Awesome.
Great stop.
What happened Saturday at, Amazway?
A light bulb.
It was just a light bulb. Oh, dear God.
Structure fire, it was a light bulb. It
Okay.
popped and it was smoking.
I have a question, off the wall. These blankets they advertise on TV, like if your stove's on fire, do you think that's a good purchase or not?
Yep, absolutely. Carried one on my boat for 30 years.
Oh,
Matter of fact, it's at my house.
okay, thank you.
Would've helped me when I caught my kitchen on fire.
Probably.
I think you would have a deluge sprinkler system, which is every head, and it wouldn't help.
You go, Kathy. All right,
Do you have
so-
the thank you note with you?
Yep, it's on the back.
Right here,
Yeah, one more. Yeah.
all the way to the back.
It's from one of the
It's
owners.
the back page of the, there
Oh,
you go.
It
thank
was
you.
right where you buy
Thank
the
you, thank you.
cards,
Yeah.
you know. And somebody slowed it down, they used an extinguisher and slowed it down, and then when they went in, it came back, which is not uncommon. They got it before it went into the ceiling.
Probably had thousands of dollars in damage on those Hallmark cards.
Yeah.
At $5
Yeah.
a piece.
Yeah,
For
we put tarps over them, and there's dust all over them from
Oh,
the extinguisher. But that was a LED light that was converted from fluorescence. And we don't know what was about, we don't know what happened, we're waiting to hear.
So I can see where Montoy would be a little cautious right now after the big gas leak there, so,
Yeah, it was a big
Plus
gas
the
leak.
wind
yeah.
on that day was blowing just a gale.
We would've had 3 or 4 places on fire.
Okay, so, is there public comment? Fire, Eric, Dan?
Nope.
Kathy?
No.
Drew?
Well,
I
no.
will take a motion to
That's
adjourn.
one of my questions. No.
Thank you.
We are
Thank you.
adjourned.
Thank you.